D-Day, 21st of May, Friday. By dawn and first light, we could see the ships around us, 21 of them, warships, troop carriers, supply ships, ammunition ships, the civilian seconded ships, the Canberra, nicknamed the Wedding Cake, the ocean-going tugs, the North Sea ferry Norland, the odd collection of ships that made up the British invasion force.
Más a ti no llegará. Dale pereza. Apurate. Mi subteniente, divisé 2 buques ingresando por el estrecho.
Siga con la observación.
Sí, mi subteniente.
Quevedo,
Ordene, mi subteniente.
tome posición y comunique al puesto comando la novedad. Informe que hay presencia de buques en el canal.
Sí, mi subteniente.
Avise que abrimos fuego. Marche.
Santiago, aquí gato, cambio. Santiago, aquí gato, cambio, ¿me copia? Santiago, aquí gato, cambio.
¡Soldados! A partir de este momento la guerra comienza para nosotros.
¡Ordene, mi subteniente! ¡Ordene, mi subteniente!
¡Cargar proyectil!
Listo.
¡Mortero 1, listo!
¡Mortero 2, listo! ¡Mortero 1! ¡Fuego! ¡Mortero 2! ¡Fuego!
Santiago, aquí gato, cambio. Abrimos fuego, divisamos buque del canal, cambio. ¿Me copia?
¡Corrección! ¡Izquierda 200! ¡A cortar 300!
¡Otra vuelta de manguito hacia adelante! ¡Alza 50 grados!
¡Batería lista!
¡Vamos, soldado!
Listo.
¡Vamos!
¡Mortero 1, listo!
¡Fuego! ¡Lámpara por la derecha! ¡Fuego!
¡Santiago! ¡Santiago, aquí gato, cambio! ¡Santiago, aquí gato, cambio, me copia! ¡Divisamos buques, abrimos fuego! ¡Santiago, aquí gato, cambio!
¡Les manda fuego, segador! ¡Fuego!
¡Divisamos buques!
¡Ordénele bajar, mi subteniente! ¡Déjelo bajar!
¡Vamos, soldados, muevan las manos!
¡Tope! ¡Vuelve a su posición! ¡Tope! ¡Ordénele bajar, mi subteniente!
¡Vuelva a su posición, López!
Si sigo usando la radio, nos van a localizar.
Hay que comunicarse como sea. De eso depende el éxito de la misión. Vaya a buscarlo. ¡Rivero! ¡Releve a López! ¡Vamos, vamos, vamos, Rivero!
¡José!
¡Acá! ¡Vení, José! ¡José! 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 ¡Soldados! ¡Prepararse para el repliegue y destruir material!
¡Soldados! ¡Iniciamos repliegue! Primero, busque a nuestros hombres y nos juntamos en el punto de reunión.
¡Sí, señor teniente! ¡Tome!
El resto, seguirme. ¡Vamos, López! ¡Vamos, tenemos que irnos! ¡Vamos, ya está! ¡Ya está, López! ¡Vamos! ¡Ya está, López!
¡No!
¡Ya está, vamos! ¡No, vamos!
El aviador naval ingresa al estrecho de San Carlos, divisa un helicóptero en vuelo estacionario para alertar sobre posibles ataques aéreos. Kripa realiza un brusco giro a la izquierda, pasando a escasos metros del helicóptero. El helicóptero de la Fuerza de Tareas Británica alerta a los buques advirtiéndoles que un jet argentino va hacia ellos. Maniobrando su Aermacchi, Kripa somete a su avión a varias G negativas, respondiendo de disparo contra el primer buque que cruza frente a su mira de tiro. Una vez realizado el ataque, Kripa vuela entre medio de toda la flota británica. Las unidades ni los efectivos abren fuego por temor a impactarse entre ellos y el piloto argentino logra escapar.
Desde el continente, aviones Mirage, Skyhawks, Dagger de la Fuerza Aérea entraban en acción para atacar a la flota colonialista. Durante el transcurso de la Guerra del Atlántico Sur, la Fuerza Aérea le ocasionaría a una de las flotas más poderosas del mundo los daños más importantes de su historia.
The Argentine planes were still being hacked out of the sky. Watch the one in the background. One day it was our turn to be caught in a helicopter during an air raid. Two of the Skyhawks turned our way, and we thought they'd attack us. But they sped by 100 yards off, exposing us not to their guns, but our own, firing at them. San Carlos Bay, the helicopter. Two of the Skyhawks turned our way, and we thought they'd attack us. But they sped by 100 yards off, exposing us not to their guns, but our own firing at them. Two of the Skyhawks turned our way, and we thought they'd attack us. But they sped by 100 yards off, exposing us not to their guns, but our own firing at them.
Towards the end of the 7th day, welding teams trying to repair bomb damage to HMS Argonaut started a fire which threatened to get out of control. Firefighting equipment was rushed across from HMS Fearless, disappearing into the fog of smoke which quickly surrounded her. For a while, it looked like another ship would be lost. On Fearless, the crew in their flak jackets and tin helmets were monitoring another air raid. The fire was an unwelcome distraction. They had to keep watching the sky as the firefighters were winched down on the deck of Argonaut. But the fire was contained, and the Argentine aircraft failed to attack.
And get the beachhead established. The helicopters ducked into the hillsides, using their colour as camouflage. But this time the main attack was against the fleet at sea. The Bofors guns aboard HMS Fearless claimed 2 planes. The gun crews, mostly 17 years old, soon had more battle experience than anyone else in the Navy.
venga la cortina así para acá.
Simultáneamente en Puerto Argentino otras consecuencias de las acciones.
La máquina Douglas que acaba de precipitarse. Tercera escuadrilla de caza y ataque de los aviones Douglas A4B. El piloto, Teniente Zaragoza Márquez. El mecánico, Benítez. El piloto se eyectó, está a salvo. Este es el lugar donde ha quedado enterrado por el impacto uno de los cañones que lleva la nave debajo de sus alas.
Some idea of what the operator sees comes from this film of planes being shot down on the same day. It was taken through the sights of a frigate in the Falkland Sound. The attacks come at terrifying speed. It needs slow motion to be sure. The first items ashore were the Rapier anti-aircraft missiles. By the end of the first day, they'd been set up, but they weren't yet effective.
Very, very high. Just below the cloud.
The operators also need time to get their eye in.
Too high, I think. I think they might be coming around.
They have to guide the missile in by sight until it's close enough for its own radar to lock onto the target.
There's an air battle going on to the north. Air battle to the north.
En una de las bases del sur de la Fuerza Aérea somos únicos testigos de este regreso de una escuadrilla de Mirage que acaba de cumplir una misión en el teatro de operaciones, al comando del vicecomodoro Luis Domingo B. Señor vicecomodoro, jefe de operaciones, qué gran alegría de recibirlos, ¿no?
Bueno, para mí un placer poder compartir con ustedes la recepción de una escuadrilla de combate de la Fuerza Aérea. Estamos en la cabecera de una de las bases, recepcionando a una tripulación que acaba de participar en una misión de combate.
Escenas como esta se repetían al regreso de cada misión de combate.
¿Todo bien?
Muy bien, muy bien. Con su riesgo, pero una linda misión.
respected here. So much was happening so quickly. San Carlos water was suddenly noisy with the business of war.
They'd been unloaded by the Royal Fleet Auxiliary and the Merchant Navy. The men had worked on, despite the bombs dropping around, and sometimes they'd done their part. They'd put the army on its feet. But the ships had paid a heavy price. Now there was pressure from home to break out of the beachhead and seek a success.
With the troops, upwards of 5,000 of them ashore on the main beachheads, the landing craft began ferrying the heavy supplies, fuel, food, artillery pieces, shells, ammunition. Harrier jets couldn't reduce the risk of a repeat of these air attacks. So we sailed back into San Carlos water. More ships came in with us. We were accompanied by Antelope, the frigate. They'd all come in from the Falkland Sound for the protection of the hills either side of the bay. Canberra, though, did not return. Part of our Sunday was spent delivering the post sent in from Britain via the Ascension Island. It has been said, I know, 1,000 times before, but there really is no tonic like a letter from home. Our mail service was not only to the ship's crews, but also to the troops now. And they ran out from their foxholes, their faces still blackened, but their noses now red with the cold. And cold on the Falklands means very cold.
After that first day, the defences were reassessed. Machine guns were strapped along the ship's sides. Even jets, when they dived below the missiles, put themselves within range.
They came in again. Bombs thunder into the water yards from our ships. Two rockets are fired, chasing across the sky. One missile locks onto a target and explodes.
In the next major attack on the Sunday, HMS Antelope was struck. We saw a hole in each side. Assumed a bomb had gone through without exploding. Many ships were having such lucky escapes. Then we realized the holes didn't match. There were 2 unexploded bombs on board. Helicopters probe the darkness for men in the water or on the deck. We could just see some of the ship's company moving about, trapped between the cold water and the fire. Either could kill. The interference comes from the ship's radar. Then the fire took hold and the ship started to blow itself up.
Durante la noche explotó su Santa Bárbara.
We were astonished that metal ships could burn with such fury, but she didn't die easily.
And the next morning, 24th of May, burnt out, gutted, a final explosion broke her back. She split in two, and as the red-hot deck and super... touched the water, steam and smoke mixed and billowed up across San Carlos Bay. Antelope was gone.
That morning someone remarked, "This is like the wrong end of Skittle Alley." Soon it became Bomb Alley.
Don't eat all of one time. It's going to last you a week. It's going to last you a week. Don't want you to. This is Pony's Where's all these comments you keep making now?
El aeropuerto de Malvinas esta mañana recibió el impacto directo de varias bombas de 6 aviones Harrier que reiniciaron los ataques contra este lugar. Son las 14:30 horas y nos encontramos con la agrupación de ingenieros de Infantería de Marina al mando del capitán de corbeta Luis Menghini, que tiene como misión desactivar y hacer detonar una bomba que ha quedado sin estallar o probablemente se trate de una bomba con retardo. Capitán Menghini, ¿es correcto lo que acabo de informar?
Sí, lo que usted acaba de informar es correcto. Es probable que el artefacto pueda haber fallado en su detonación o, como hemos tenido comprobaciones anteriores, tenga un proceso de retardo que puede llegar a durar de 6 a 8 o más horas para llegar a estallar.
Hemos colocado la cámara sobre una piedra para inmovilizarla y Libonati ha colocado el multiplicador de la cámara a los efectos de obtener un primerísimo plano que inclusive podrá servir después como un elemento de instrucción o ayuda para este tipo de operaciones.
Thatcher, why, when the Belgrano, the Argentinian battleship, was outside the exclusion zone and actually sailing away from the Falklands, why did you give the orders to sink it?
But it was not sailing away from the Falklands. It was in an area which was a danger to our ships and to our people on them.
Outside the exclusion zone?
But it was in an area which we had warned. At the end of April, we had given warnings that all ships in those areas, if they represented a danger to our ships, were vulnerable. When it was sunk, that ship which we had found was a danger to our ships. My duty was to look after our troops, our ships, our navy. And my goodness me, I lived with many, many anxious days and nights.
Mrs. Thatcher, you started your answer by saying it was not sailing away from the Falklands. It was on a bearing of 280, and it was already west of the Falklands. So I'm sorry, but I cannot see how you can say it was not sailing away from the Falklands.
When it was sunk.
When it was sunk.
It was a danger to our ships.
No, but you have just said at the beginning of your answer that it was not sailing away from the Falklands, and I'm asking you to correct that statement.
But it's within an area outside the exclusion zone, which I think what you are saying is sailing away.
I think which way it was facing at the time.
Danger to our ships.
Mrs. Thatcher, I am saying that it was on a bearing 280, which is a bearing just north of west. It was already west of the Falklands, and therefore nobody with any imagination can put it sailing other than away from the Falklands.
I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Mrs. Gould.
Mrs. Gould.
When
the orders were given to sink it, and when it was sunk, it was in an area which was a danger to our ships.
Well,
now, you accept that, do you?
No, I don't.
I'm sorry, it was, and you must accept that
Mrs.
when we
Thatcher,
gave the order, when we changed the rules which enabled them to sink Belgrano, the change of rules had been notified at the end of April. It was all published that any ships that were a danger to ours within a certain zone wider than the Falklands were likely to be sunk. And again, I do say to you, my duty, and I'm very proud that we put it this way and adhered to it, was to protect the lives of the people in our ships and the enormous numbers of troops that we had down there waiting for landings. I put that duty first. And when the Belgrano was sunk, and I ask you to accept this, she was in a position which was a danger to our Navy.
Mrs. Gould, let me ask you this, Mrs. Gould. What motive are you seeking to attach to Mrs. Thatcher and her government in this? Is it the inefficiency, lack of communication, or is it a desire for action, a desire for war?
It is a desire for action and a lack of communications, because giving those orders to sink the Belgrano when it was actually sailing away from our fleet and away from the Falklands was in effect sabotaging any possibility of any peace plan succeeding, and Mrs. Thatcher had 14 hours in which to consider the Peruvian peace plan that was being put forward to her, in which those 14 hours those orders could have been rescinded.
Right, Mrs. Thatcher.
One day, all of the facts in about 30 years' time will be published.
That is not good enough, Mrs. Thatcher.
I am
We
just...
need...
Would you
let
please
Mrs. Thatcher answer.
let me answer?
You've put a fair point.
Would you please let me answer? I lived with the responsibility for a very long time. I answered the question giving the facts, not anyone's opinions, but the facts. Those Peruvian peace proposals, which were only in outline, did not reach London until after the attack on the Belgrano. That is fact. I'm sorry, that is fact, and I am going to finish. Did not reach London until after the attack on the Belgrano. Moreover, we went on negotiating for another fortnight after that attack. I think it could only be in Britain that a Prime Minister was accused of sinking an enemy ship that was a danger to our Navy, when my main motive was to protect the boys in our Navy. That was my main motive, and I'm very proud of it.
Mrs. Gould,
one day all the facts will be revealed, and they will indicate as I have said.
Mrs. Gould, have you got a new point to make? Otherwise I must move
just
on.
one point. I understood that the Peruvian peace plans on a nationwide programme were discussed on the midnight May the 1st. If that outline did not reach London for another 14 hours, I think there must be something very seriously wrong with our communications, and we are living in a nuclear age when we're going to have minutes to make decisions, not hours.
Let's
I
move
have
on.
indicated what the facts are, and would you accept that I am in a position to know exactly when they reached London, exactly when the attack was made? But I repeat, the job of the Prime Minister is to protect the lives of our boys on our ships.
Let's move
and
on
I'm
to
proud that
discuss
that's what I
that
did.
nuclear age, Mrs. Thatcher, if we can, because